a young age, that's the thing that I can kind of point to of, booking auditions and getting this job and traveling to this place and experiencing these things and coming back home with these experiences and not having a lot of people who could relate or could, I could soundboard off of. And I think in feeling like that, you don't want to alienate those people, and I think, and this is all, I guess, in hindsight, you don't share these stories as much. Maybe you should, because you don't want somebody to feel like inadequate or, not being able to have that experience that you might have had. And I think, that snowballs as you get older, and from stepping stone to stepping stone as I continue to be successful at a young age. You start to question, why am I being so successful? And the people that look just like me, that are right next to me in these everyday things, aren't necessarily doing that, or not choosing to, just didn't have those options that were laid out to them. And I think you start to doubt yourself for whatever reason, or feel guilty for the things that you may or may not have.
What was that switch for you that went from like, I don't deserve this, God, like I feel out of place, I'm lucky, to being like, no, actually now I see it as this was meant to be my path? Because I think a lot of people, and a lot of our listeners will be there. Like a lot of people are like, they're making moves, and maybe they're the first person in their family to go to college, or maybe they're the first person who started up a business and is an entrepreneur, or maybe one of our listeners is trying to break generational trauma and they're the first person to spot it.
Yes.
But then they all live in that space of like, can I do this? Like, am I the one to do this? And so what was it that made that switch from like, I'm not sure I'm the guy, but it is my path?
It's the sum of all things leading up into that point. I think it's all the doubt. It's the imposter syndrome. It's the blessings that you can't really accept fully. And you listen to other people speak who are successful, or you see examples that you kind of feel connected to. Like, man, that kind of feels like me. Or what he just said or what she just said, I resonate with that. I feel like that sometimes, other people who are looking at you saying, no, Mike, this is what you have. This is what you can be. This is what you are. Nah, that can't. No, that's too good. No, that ain't me. Your own presence in a situation where you have to step back and look at yourself and be like, am I this guy right now? Like, oh man, there's a room full of people who showed up because of something I'm doing, and they're in service or in support of my idea, my thing. Okay. That looks and feels like I'm the guy. Okay. I'm in the industry where, the success of your work and your art has been, dictated and validated by other people's opinions. And whether those opinions are factual or projected on you from their own individual perspective, I think it was a combination of all those things. And I've always been curious and walked towards how do I make myself better? What are the things that I need, the tools that I need in order to improve myself, the way I think, how do I maximize myself, my energy work, my spiritual work, and help sift through the noise and find those things. And I think it wasn't until I had, roles that challenged my spirit and myself in a real way that in the weight and where the attention was so loud that it was, it was deafening, and it was, and I couldn't, see clearly. And, these champagne problems, you know what I'm saying? That like, we're blessed. So, but the weight is so heavy, and people sometimes think and they see what we have or what, what we're doing, and it's like, oh, just be grateful, or just, what are you complaining about, and most people wouldn't be able to walk, a block in our shoes, with this stuff. And I think it was, and then you have moments where you resent things and you're angry at, the feelings that you accumulate for not being clear. or not understanding, why this. There's a lot of whys, and you're not going to get all the answers, but you want to, be able to get to a place where you're clear. So to answer your question, when did I decide? When did I when did I feel like that? Maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. You look at where your family has come from, and shit. Look at your bloodline. You look at your community. You're like, man, there's a cycle there. From generation to generation that happens. When you get to yourself, you're like, man, can I stop this? Can I change this? I could do this. Once you know better, you got to almost do better. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I refuse to ignore it. I refuse to see it an opportunity that I had to change things and act like it didn't exist. And I think that was the thing for me that I was like, nah, I gotta, if that's my purpose, if that's my path, is to just see it and I can see the pieces, and if I can just continue to do this, or if I stay down the pathway on that, and I might be able to make a big difference in my nephew's life or my future children's, my future grandchildren's life, I got to do that. Because there's been so many people that it wasn't the perfect storm for them to have that opportunity. It wasn't the right time in the world. Technology wasn't there. The resources, the right social conversations are being had for us to have these platforms and speak and be successful the way we are. You gotta do it. And I think that was a big part of it, understanding my own mortality, and understanding, that life isn't a forever thing. And I think that happens when you get older too. You know what I'm saying? Like, just turned 37. And it's like, wow, I vividly remember, 15. I vividly remember 21. I vividly remember 25, 30, and I used to look at 35, 37 like ancient, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh man, we're here. And it's like, you got to do what you got to do while you're here and make an impact. You got to fulfill yourself, whatever that may be,